The Defense Department announced $1 billion in new military assistance to Ukraine. It includes a host of weapons, ammunition, and equipment from the Pentagon's inventory, along with armored medical treatment vehicles. The Biden administration is on its 18th drawdown of Defense Department equipment for Ukraine over the last year.
The United States has now committed approximately $9.8 billion in security assistance to Ukraine since the beginning of the Biden administration, including $9.1 billion since the beginning of Russia's most recent unprovoked invasion in February.
This presidential drawdown is the largest single expenditure of ammo, rockets, and other arms. This assistance comes in addition to a new $4.5 billion aid package for necessities such as gas, electricity, infrastructure, and to pay healthcare workers and teachers. Pennsylvania has become one of the most highly contested political battleground states in the entire country. Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry is chair of the House Freedom Caucus. I recently had a chance to speak to him about the Freedom Caucus's agenda, as well as his outlook on the upcoming midterm elections. Here's a look.
Congressman Scott Perry, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Congressman, you're chair of the Congressional Freedom Caucus. Could you just give us a little bit of an idea of your agenda and what you aim to do there?
Well, of course, we want to, the mission of the Freedom Caucus is to speak for the countless millions of Americans who feel like Washington has left behind and doesn't speak for them. So everybody comes to Congress knowing that something's broken in Washington, D.C., and it seems to me that the way to fix it isn't to just keep doing the same things that have been done before you got there. So we look to change things up. We want to change some of the process, some of the rules to make them more fair. We have this illusion of representative government. People think, well, I have my representative, he or she is there voting on my behalf, and they don't realize that the minority chairman and the majority chairman in the House and the minority and the majority in the Senate have already made the decisions about what's in the bill, and all you're doing is voting yes or no. You didn't really get to speak on behalf of your folks back at home and what their concerns are. We want to change that so that representatives get to participate granularly, and we also want we want transparency. Right now, the Speaker can bring any bill to the floor immediately. Never went through committee, no markup, no input, no amendments, no anything, and put it on the floor. That's not really very transparent, and it puts people in a really bad position trying to learn about the bill very quickly. You got to vote. You don't want to vote present. You got to vote yes or no. There's probably bad things in it you're not aware of. All those kind of that stuff has to end. That's leadership and dictatorship, or leadership by bullying. It's not how you run a country. So we want to change some of those things, and quite honestly, especially as a Republican, like one of the things we want to talk about is having the majority of the majority for a vote. So as a Republican, don't be going to get the majority of your votes on the Democrat side of the aisle. If a majority of Republicans don't support this policy, then we can't be for it. We shouldn't be advancing it, because that's not what our voters sent us here to do. We didn't come here to make deals with the other side. We came here to do what you sent us to do.
Now, I want to ask you on a local level, you represent a district in Pennsylvania. It's a critical state each election cycle, and it will be in November. What are you hearing from your constituents, the people of Pennsylvania? What is kind of the most important issue to constituents?
Right now, their home economics, their cost of living, the availability of certain things. There was a period of time where you literally couldn't get peanut butter. If you've got a small child, if you've got an infant, baby formula for your infant, that's an issue. But then just the cost to go to work, the cost to participate in your daily life. Again, whether it's buying electricity, whether it's buying gasoline, whether it's filling up your skid tank on your farm to fill your tractor so you can get your plants, your crops planted so that you can harvest them, and then whether you can buy fertilizer. I mean, across the spectrum, no matter what you do, every person, almost to a point, talks to me about how bad things are economically. Now, they'll talk about other things, too, particular to their situation. They might have a gripe about one thing or another, but universally, the economy, the cost of living, and how policies are driving it is concerning people.
Congressman Scott Perry, thank you.
Thank you.
The Treasury Department is sanctioning a virtual currency mixer called Tornado Cash. The service has allegedly helped to launder more than $7 billion worth of virtual currency since its creation in 2019. Mixing services combine various digital assets that could include mixing illegally obtained funds with legitimate ones and hiding the origin of stolen funds. The Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control says that Tornado Cash's systems were used to launder over $96 million from a blockchain theft and crypto firm heist. Former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey tweeted on Saturday, "End the CCP." The tweet was in response to a report about the Chinese Communist Party's zero COVID policy. Shanghai has just emerged from a 2-month lockdown, but another city on China's east coast has been forced into an indefinite semi-lockdown. Local authorities said it's to counter a new outbreak in the region. Measures include tests for all 1.8 million residents and suspension of public transportation. Residents are prohibited from entering and leaving their residential communities unless deemed necessary by authorities. Beijing's zero-tolerance approach to the virus is pushing more Chinese people to sever ties with the Chinese Communist regime. The Chinese Communist regime is extending its threats against Taiwan with continued military exercises around the self-governing island. The military exercises are intended to send a punishing message over last week's visit by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in her meeting with Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen. The exercises will include anti-submarine drills targeting U.S. support. The exercises will include anti-submarine drills targeting U.S. support for Taiwan in the event of a potential Chinese invasion. This is according to social media posts from the Chinese Communist Party's military. President Biden made brief remarks to reporters as he left Delaware. Asked if he was worried about China's behavior toward Taiwan, the president had this to say.
I'm not worried, but I'm concerned that they're moving as much as they are. But I don't think they're going to do anything more.